Love and peace. Today we're going to go over a clipping from 1927. The vast majority of the population, Jews and Moors being subjects of the Sultan, take no part in the international administration. They are under the jurisdiction of the Mandub and have their own Islamic courts of law. Now, as far as them speaking about international administration, the European Union or the international, that is the European powers that are all fighting over the Moorish Empire and had their first agreements of peace called the Kellogg Compact in 1928 in Havana, Cuba with Noble Drew Ali, where all the European powers agreed not to further destroy the Moorish Empire and fight each other. They're supposed to have perpetual peace. And the Moors are to have their own jurisdiction, their own courts of law. And all of you are sitting here talking about the Moors are full of shit because they're saying they're not under the jurisdiction of these European power administrations. I'm sick of it, man. For the European population, the international civil and criminal codes are administered by mixed tribunals because they're all different European powers fighting over the Moorish Empire, to which natives, quote unquote, are amendable when there are Europeans concerned in the case. But again, the Moors, we'll go back to what it had with the Moorish Sultan, is to have jurisdiction over all the Muslims all over the world. So how dare these European powers who call themselves the United States, just like in Havana, Cuba, it said these European states are not to interfere in the affairs of the American states, which are the Moors. The United States is a European state. If you're sitting there saying you're a citizen of them and you're a Moor, you're a damn traitor, and I'm sick of it. Again, they are under the jurisdiction of the Mandub and have their own Islamic courts of law. How dare you, even you Moors, how dare you sit here and talk about the Moors are to be under the jurisdiction of a European de facto colonial state? How dare you? And justice is Allah's alone. The present status of Tangier, established by the convention put into operation on December 1st, 1924, sustains the Sultan. But we know in these days the Sultan abandoned his throne. He calls himself a king, no longer Sultan, the king of Saudi and all that. Since Prophet Drew Ali left this realm, everybody's went haywire. The Sultan abandoned his throne. Therefore, the Moors got to govern themselves, and Drew Ali is head. The nations of the world will not recognize you without the Prophet being head, with few exceptions in control over the Muslim subjects. His Majesty's authority is represented by the Mandub, and we're going to go look that up, both judicially and executively. The town together is about 200 square miles of territory, but we already have the clipping where the Moorish Sultan controls all the Muslims all over the world, which was Drew Ali and which is Drew Ali into these days. The towns together with about 200 square miles of territory is governed by an administration and two assistant administrators who act on the recommendation of the Legislative Assembly and carry out its decisions subject to the ratification by the Committee de Contrôles. Until 1930, the administrator is to be French and his assistants a Spaniard and an Englishman. All colonization, 1930 though. Ain't that wild? Who fill the respective post of Director of Hygiene and Public Assistance and of Finance. Over this is the Committee de Contrôles, consisting of the Consul General of the adhering powers. The International Legislative Assembly is responsible for the local laws and consists of the representatives of the subjects of the adhering powers nominated by their Consul General. The Italian and American governments not having adhered to the status. Yeah, as far as American government, Moorish, yeah, they're not going to adhere because they're under their own jurisdiction. We're not talking about U.S. Their subjects take no part in the assembly and the administration. Now, we know as far as judicial and administrative and all that, but it's stated that the Moors are to have their own courts of law acting under judicial authority is what it said. Early last summer, Spain, inspired by Italy, it is said, unofficially put forward her claim to administer Tangier. And then on the eve of the Seventh Assembly of the League of Nations, attempted to tie it up with their claim to a seat on the Council of the League. She wished to have a League mandate to administer Tangier. A League mandate? Are y'all hearing this? Drew Ali had the mandate because, again, The Moors was the only ones that wasn't a party to this war because all the European powers was fighting over the Moorish Empire, but the Moors wasn't at war. They was in the defense. That's why the Havana, Cuba telegrams we have, the delegates are asking, what about the Sharifian government? What about the Moors? They're not a party to this because they're only in defense. We're all the parties because we're all at war over this empire. And they're the ones that are sitting there in peace. They have the right to their own court of law, their own jurisdiction and everything. The Sultan abandoned his throne and let the European powers all in the Moorish soil. And the head of it now is Drew Ali. So you want to talk about a sultan? We have it right here. The Moorish Sultan holds jurisdiction over all the Muslims all over the world. U.S., European, colonial, de facto administrations have no jurisdiction. And again, how dare any of you Moors sit out here and say that that's what you're a citizen of and try to call people dirty and shit. Calling me dirty because I don't support Moors calling themselves colonial citizens and subjects, you piece of sh. Justice is Allah's alone. I'll leave you in love and peace. Keep speaking about me, Moors. Keep speaking about me with your BS and your passive character. I'll leave you in love and peace. Divine honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish divine and national movement of the world, Islamism.